Hello, 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 everybody.
Woo!
Once again,
Had to
we are
unmute
back.
myself.
This is Alex and Maddie from Oneironautics, and for the second time ever, we are happy to introduce Teagan Rose.
Yay!
Can we clap?
Claps around the table.
Teagan, I was telling you this before, but I've gotten so many compliments about the first podcast that we did. People just absolutely love it.
It
So
was
thank
so
you for
fun.
taking the time to come back and do a little round two with us.
Of course. It's so easy to chat with you guys. It's always so
I've
real.
very much been looking forward to this and talking about your book. Seriously, we had such a good combo. I'm stoked.
I know. We really went on a roll there. It's great to actually see your this is the first time seeing your face in real time.
I know, and I'm loving this. This just makes it adds. Like you can tell a lot through voice, I think, but it just makes my heart happy. So thanks for being here, everyone. I know we kind of last minute threw it together, but it makes me happy.
You know, that's, if anybody knows me, that's kind of where I thrive, is in throwing things together at last minute.
Yeah. Ramp up the nervous system, get the blood pumping. It just makes magic happen.
He's a manifesting generator. I mean, come on.
That's some powerful shit.
Yeah. Not a planner, that's for sure. But yeah, so for those of you who are tuning in and do not know, this is a very special occasion because we are doing a few days early release chat with Teagan about the release of her new book, The Emotional Body.
Look at that.
I know I have been excited for this one. Teagan, you've been sharing tiny little snippets with me over, I don't even know how long we've known each other, but it's been a while.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah. And I remember when you first shared the idea for the book with me, and I was like, yes, when is it coming out? And you're like, well, I still gotta put it together.
There's a lot of stuff to do. You're just like, tell me where to buy it. Tell me where to get it.
Exactly.
And, it's been a long process.
Serkan, Barat, what's up?
Hi.
Thanks for checking in. But yeah, so Teagan,
yes.
I don't want to steal your thunder, so why don't you give us a little bit of intro to the book, I guess.
Low down on the book. Yeah. So, The Emotional Body. In a nutshell, what it is, the title is a photographic exploration on emotions, movement, and being human. And the way that I've designed this book is I really wanted it to be an experience for the reader. I really wanted it to be something where it's not just like your typical photography book where you're just flipping through the pages like, oh, that's pretty, or that's cool. And, maybe you have a feeling come up, but there's not really an intention to recognize that feeling or connect to that feeling. I really wanted it to be something where the reader is almost interacting with the book. And so it's a journey. I call the book a journey for the reader, and it's intended to be a journey that guides the reader into their own body, into sensation and emotion, and in a lot of ways is like the photos in the book in so many ways I think just reflect humanity as a whole. And so there's a lot of ways that viewing the photos in this book gives opportunities to feel ourselves in ways that we didn't expect, and to reflect on ourselves in the way that we might allow or disallow ourselves to feel our emotions. So obviously emotions are a very important part of my life.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No idea.
Passionate.
That's
I feel
really
it in
cool.
my heart.
I love that as a concept. And so all of the photos that are in the book, you took those yourself, right?
Yeah, so that's also a really an interesting process. So the book did not start out as an intention to be a book. It started out as a photography project. It was an art project. I didn't know what it was going to be. I was just mainly, I had this curiosity, this question of what would happen if I asked for people to move in a way that to move how their emotions were guiding them to move, rather than moving in a way that they thought was pretty or cool or good for the camera, anything like that. And so I had a bunch of people volunteer to be a part of this project. It was just like Teagan's art project. Let's do it. And I did these photo sessions, and I guided all of the participants into just deep embodied awareness, and then kind of let them loose for an hour, letting them just move through whatever emotions were coming up. And that's what the photos are. And then when I was looking through the photos after these photo sessions, I was just overwhelmed with how impactful they were, and um, how much they meant to me, and also how much they seemed to mean to the participants when they wrote me reflections about what their experience was like. And it was through that process that I kind of heard inside of me one day, oh, it wants to be a book. Like, this project wants to be shared in some way. It wants to be a book.
I love that. So it's almost like the project created itself out of your own little adventure.
Absolutely. I reference in the book a number of times that I, in many ways, was on like the same journey as all of the participants, just asking myself to surrender to the process, try not to control it, try to just let it become what it's meant to become, which, is so hard. But obviously so incredibly rewarding as well.
Yeah, that's, I mean, everything you've been saying about the entire thing, right? From the creation of the project itself, right? It was never meant to be a book or you didn't start it meaning to be a book. It's something that came into being. But at least for me, like, books always represent, people writing down lessons they've learned, even if it's in like a fictional way, and it's a way for people to kind of share their own ways of discovery. And like for you, that seems exactly what it was, like through you working with these people in this area, right? Through movement, which is obviously very, very heavily special to you and how you are able to create, which is just amazing. But you were able to ask yourself questions and these other people and put it together through, it's your own discovery, right? However anyone wants to interpret it, and you don't even know until it kind of comes together. And I think that's just something people can feel, when they're going through art in general. I do think that's something you can feel.
Definitely. So Teagan, what was it like then for you when the project kind of started telling you that it was going to be a book? Like, what was that process kind of like for you? Like, was that kind of like an obvious, like, oh yeah, cool, like this is what I'm doing now? Or was it like, I don't know, like I've never thought about writing a book. Like, what do I do? And then like, was there like a battle there, or was it just like, okay, this is boom?
Definitely not boom. It was a battle. I think the core part of the battle was actually in realizing how much of myself I wanted to keep out of it. That I was so enthralled with the participants and their vulnerability and everything that they offered to the project, that I was like, I was really neglectful at first to put myself into the book. I was just like, no, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about them. I'm making it about them. And I still do feel like it is about them. And on the, bigger picture, it's about humanity, and it's about the way that we all process emotions in very similar ways. But it was interesting how much I was like shy to really let myself be a part of it. And so I went through many different iterations, and I would ask like my mom or Ethan, my partner, for like reflections on how it was going, and very often the reflections that I would get back was like, "Where are you in this? Like, I want to hear what you think about this, and I want to hear what the process was like for you." And so I started like that was, that was uncomfortable, and in a really good way, because I think that ended up giving the book um, even more depth and even more vulnerability than was already there.
I think that's a really, brave thing to even like talk about, right? When you create a work, and whether it's a total like with you were, working with different people. So it wasn't just a book about Teagan, but at the end of the day, you're like infusing yourself into that. But also as you're coming out to talk about it and talking about the journey of how scary that can be, right? Because you're literally, I think we talked about this on the first podcast, right? Like where you put art out and it's putting yourself into it, and it's being, people can be critical or whatever it is, but it's brave to even sit there and say, okay, no, this is a work that I'm very proud of, but it's still something that was like a struggle for me. Even though I do all this work, like when I, speak with you, you are such a grounded person. I love your perspective on things. But I think every person who is strong and knows how to do things, they still struggle putting themselves forward, which seems like nuts to me. Like in my head, I'm like, Teagan, give me everything of you. Like, I want to know it all, right? But for you, it was like a process. So this is my whole long-winded way of saying, like, one, that's very brave, but I'm also really curious, like for you, what do you think? You're getting kind of like these ideas of like, okay, what do you think about this? But what allowed you to kind of step out and feel more comfortable putting yourself into the book itself?
That's a great question. I think it was, well, so as a facilitator or like a teacher or a space holder, I think many facilitators and teachers understand this, that very often the things that we're teaching our students are things that we kind of need to learn ourselves. Like are things that we're like continuously moving through layers of learning in this lifetime. And so I think one of the things that is both like a really integral, important part of my life is vulnerability and being authentic and being exposed. And simultaneously, there's still like a bit of like this terrifying feeling of it, and going like, no, I should, it needs to be perfect, and I need to be put together, and like what will other people think, like all of that stuff. And I actually, there is a piece in the book that I think would also answer this question a little bit more thoroughly. Can I?
Oh, we get a sneak peek.
Please
I'm excited. Please.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, I think this will answer it pretty well. So this is an excerpt from the book called The Container. It can be hard at times to allow ourselves to be supported, held, and seen as we are, because we tend to live in a world that makes safety synonymous with perfection. We may want to hide away when we feel we don't have it all together, when we feel messy, vulnerable, uncertain, in transition, lost. And yet it is often the very act of revealing how human we are to each other that builds connection, trust, and a safe container. During the session, sometimes a participant would begin to hesitate in their movements and shift their eyes towards me with an expression of innocence, as though they were asking, is this going well? Am I doing it right? Multiple participants reflected on how they noticed a part of them arise that wanted to give a little extra, go a little farther, do something a little more interesting. This, in itself, is a beautiful and crucial part of the process of coming home to the fullness of our humanness, being present with all of the pieces and parts. the ones that are self-conscious, the ones that feel they're not enough by just being, the ones that fear being rejected, inviting all of them to show up to the conversation so they can be held and moved through too. It's okay to want to do well, to desire validation, to yearn to feel accepted while opening new pathways. This is emotion. This is honest. This is human. As we set up the container for these sessions, this invitation for it all to be welcome was a crucial part of creating safety and freedom of expression. Sometimes we need support from others in the process of discovering more of who we are. Someone else to hold sanity so that we can go crazy. Someone else to hold clarity so that we can be unsure. Someone else to hold solidity so that we can soften. And through this, find the space where we can rest in truth.
That made my face tingle, like literally, like tingle. That makes me happy.
So yeah, it's like, yeah, I was, fucking nervous and terrified to put more of myself into this book, but I realized, like, that's why I'm here, to feel the nervousness and how terrified I am, and to do it anyway.
Right. And, I think it's such a cool little like intro, and almost like, obviously this is a whole project and everything in itself. It kind of starts to lay the groundwork for everything else that you can achieve and accomplish too, right? Now you're like, well, I wrote a book. I not only wrote it, but I published it, right? Organized all of it, and you did all these things, and I think it's such an important lesson for anybody, whether you consider yourself an artist or not. That's a whole discussion in itself that I've had with a couple different people in like Twitter spaces and stuff, where I think everybody's an artist. It's just whether or not you're identifying aspects of your expression as artistry or not. But I think so many people are afraid to really put their self-expression out there to others because they think that it has to be a certain way, or they need to have like a huge audience to put themselves out there, rather than, like you're saying, like just capturing them in the moment, and like what you get is what you get. Like, this is who you are, this is how you're being, this is what you're feeling, so this is what you get, world. Take it or leave it, right?
And it's enough.
Right. It's more than enough. You just being there is more than enough.
Right. And we talked about this a little bit as well, I think, on the last podcast we did, my like influences of my time as an actor and being an actor. And that what you just said reminded me of how like when you're watching a performance or a movie or something, like the moments that people always talk about are usually the moments that were unexpected, that were unplanned, where there's like some kind of shit that goes wrong. You have to figure it out in the moment. And I feel like that's kind of like, those are the moments that we remember, and those are the moments where we kind of feel in each other like, oh my God, you're human too. That's so great. I feel less alone.
We were kind of talking about that in our meeting, like Maddie, Mariah, and I the other night, because we just like all kind of took a hiatus, and like we were all doing our own thing, living our own lives, and then we circled back, and initially we were all like, oh yeah, sorry, like I've been like kind of going through things, and then I think we all just kind of like hit this point where we looked at each other like through the screen, and we're like, wait, why are we all apologizing?
It was very much like one of those moments of just, do we do this every time? Like, why?
Yeah. So I get it. I think it's great. And so I
read.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I read this thing the other day that was, I speak about the concept of like healing all the time because it's very near and dear to my heart. But I had read this way of like saying, or this way of defining healing as creating ways to feel more safe in your body, and in general, like that like for some reason that one statement like really shifted how I was feeling. And part of like feeling safe, right, is like not feeling alone and all of that. And so anytime I think we put ourselves out there, or we're overcoming fear or experiencing something in a movie that's unexpected, I like to call it shock factor, which I'm a big fan of. You know, I say I bring shock factor into my life. But what I think that is, it's overcoming those moments where I don't feel safe. And the more and more I do that, the more we heal, right? So like every time I challenge myself, anytime I see something in a movie that's unexpected, that somehow someone pulls themselves out of, I'm attracted to it. Why? Because it made me think of how I would handle it, how, you know, whatever it is. And so at the end of the day, to me, it's all coming back to that space of learning how to feel safe whenever we challenge ourselves, whenever we put ourselves in a scenario that makes us uncomfortable. And it all circles back to what I would consider healing. But yeah.
I think we also touched on this last podcast when we were talking about nervous system regulation. And I think I mentioned something called the window of tolerance that we all have. Yes. And our window of tolerance is like what you're saying, like the spaces or circumstances that we feel safe in. And like part of being able to be more resilient and be even more expressive and go ahead and write that book and go ahead and put out that art project, go ahead and put out that music, that's expanding the window of tolerance as well. And I love the way that you put that, like creating more ways to feel safe in your body. That's so beautifully said.
I love these combos, guys.
So that kind of leads me to my next question. I kind of have like my own answer, but I'm obviously going to ask this just because I want to hear your answer.
I want to hear your answer.
So for someone maybe that's looking to start a project or start putting themselves out there, and maybe they're in a place where they're not feeling comfortable doing it, what kind of suggestions or tips might you have, like to encourage someone to potentially like start playing around with moving into that as somebody that's done it?
Right. I mean, the first thing that comes to me is just having a clear why for what you're doing. Because I mean, throughout the process of this book, I think that I set myself up in a really beautiful and unexpected way, that I had other participants in this project. So for me, it was like, I need to honor them. Like, I need to honor the vulnerability that they expressed in these rooms. Like, it would not feel good in my body or in my soul to just have taken those photos and then to not like share something about the impact of that. So that was a very clear why for me, and like I feel it deep in my belly when I talk about it. And so I think that for any artist out there who has an idea that emerges from that space, it's like, oh my God, I feel really passionate about this. So there's like this tingling like of a thread of an idea. If there's that connection to why, I think that can take you really far.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's also great just to try, you know, like even if it's something that doesn't see itself all the way to completion and maybe the way that you initially like envisioned it going, even just playing and tiptoeing into it, who knows like where else that could lead you, right? I can safely say that Oneironautics as it is today is nowhere close to what I envisioned when it started.
Right.
You know, and I never thought I'd be doing podcasts. I never thought I'd be like having like strategic partnerships with people for different things and yada yada, and so on and so forth. But just the idea of somebody telling me like, hey, like you should put your designs on clothes. And I was like, like, I guess, like multiple people are asking me this. So for me, that was my why. I was like, well, I would love to, support these people in what they're asking me. So like, let me try, let me figure it out. And then, then it just kept going. So to me, not attaching yourself to the outcome when you're still in process, I think that is a huge, huge help. At least it has been for me. Because yeah, it just leaves more doors open to see like where it could go rather than being closed and you know, trying to lock into like one finalized product or idea.
Yeah, splatter the paint on the canvas for a little while instead and just see what emerges, right?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, the idea of perfectionism, and I think what we've been taught in a lot of ways is that if we're going to present things, if we have the capabilities to maybe perfect them, or whatever you want to define that as, make it palatable for a mass amount of people, or whatever that idea is. I mean, that perpetuates the ways we attach our feelings to outcomes, right? Like, because if we're going to present something, it's, if we make the why because I think it's going to give me this particular outcome and the outcome isn't that, we're probably missing the point. But I think it's an understandable thing that many of us run into. I know it's been a struggle for me, but that's the fun part of when you're finding your why. Teagan, you said it's like, I felt it in my belly, right? Alex, for you, it's like it was multiple people telling you something, but you at that point in time, you wanted to honor those people in your life. That's what your why was. It wasn't just someone telling you. It was, well, if these people are telling me and I care about these people and this is the type of person I am, this is why I want to do this, right? So it's like it's honoring who we are in those moments. And I think you alluded to this or said this in the beginning, Teagan, just, and this really like spoke to me of like, honoring like who you are right now is good no matter what. And I know we talked about this in the last podcast, but when we truly honor who we are right now and all of our limitations, I think that's how we can start to create. And then if we're open to that, we don't have an attachment to a particular outcome and we'll allow ourselves to evolve, maybe that outcome is also evolving with us, right? And it gives us more space. But I think a lot of times we miss the point of, we might not be perfect the entire time, right? Like, it's a process. Your work is a process just like you are.
Yeah, no, so well put. Your work is a process just as you are. Yeah, we're all evolving and growing and changing every single goddamn moment. So why wouldn't our work be the same? Yeah, and I love what you were saying as well about both of you were saying about not looking to the future or like what the outcome will be, and that's a theme in the book as well, because in the movement meditations that I guided the participants in before the for their hour of like just being with themselves and their emotions, all I was guiding them to do was just to be with themselves in each present moment. What do you feel now and now and now and now? And can you give yourself permission? Can you give yourself that gift of honoring the now, the now, the now, the now? And like that's what the movement session was. Like that was their time. And any time that they started to get disconnected from that, it's often as simple as that. Like, what sensation do you feel right now? Okay, great. Like, can you listen to that and get curious about that? And I feel like it's the same thing with art as well. Just like be curious about the now, because that leads into the future. The future doesn't even.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we got a question on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you would like to answer.
There we go.
I don't want to incorrectly pronounce your name, but I know that your typo in Discord and other platforms. So Typo asks, how many people did you shoot for this project?
Yeah, so when I first put out the call for volunteers for the project, I had, I think it was 32 people volunteered for it. But the shoots happened at the very beginning of 2020, right before Miss Ronavirus hit California. And
Miss
so
Rona visited
Miss
for
Rona.
a few years.
Miss Rona. And so I photographed 10 people, a perfect group of 10. And then it was like coronavirus world and lockdowns and like nobody could see each other. But so yeah, 10 people, and it ended up, I think, being perfect because I think it also gives a sense of being able to like really get to know the people in the book through their movements and their expressions instead of it being just like this, very big horde of people.
Very cool. And so I guess I have another question to follow up with that.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of thinking beforehand around like who you selected for this, or was it just kind of like, these are my friends, these are people that, this would be fun to do with? Or was there any kind of like planning?
So it was a post that I put out on Facebook for volunteers, and with those 32 people that had volunteered, I reached out to all of them individually. Was like, hey, thank you so much for volunteering for this project. I have no idea what it's going to be. Let's explore. Let's have some fun. And we organized the shoots. And so the 10 people that I shot just happened to be the 10 people who I got to shoot before everything got locked down.
That
So
just kind of plays into the whole thing of like, okay, like this is the now. This is
I
who
gotta trust the process,
Yeah, and it's
Um,
and it did end up being like such like a beautiful, diverse group of people with vastly different like life experiences and places that they come from. So I mean, thanks fate, thanks universe.
Love that.
Yeah.
Um, cool. So, Maddie, do you have another question or?
Well, I would say, because I am, again, like very excited for this book and I want everyone to go into it, but what would you, when you have someone pick up this book and they're about to read it, like what is one thing or something you would like to tell them before they open it, right? Like, I mean, we've talked about it, but what is something that you feel like is one of the most important questions they can ask themselves before delving into something like this?
Sure. I love that you asked that question because it's something that was I feel like I feel like that question like you almost time traveled. Like that question emerged in my mind like months ago.
There we go.
I was thinking that to myself as I was putting the book together.
Time isn't real, guys, so it's
true.
fine.
As I wanted it to be a journey, and I was thinking like, okay, if I was preparing someone for a movement journey where they're diving into their connection to their body and their emotions, like how do I set up that container? And so I tried to do that to the best of my ability in the book, where like I mean, the title, "The Emotional Body." Like, I'm hoping that when someone sees that title, that it's it's going to draw the people who want to connect with their emotions, and anyone who doesn't, like, great, it's not for you yet. And when they come into the book, my hope is that like they will go through the book and go through each page because it is designed to be like there are pages that have like, here's an opportunity for you. Like this is an opportunity for you to connect with yourself. This is an opportunity for you to see how the humans in this book are a mirror of yourself. This is an opportunity for you to remember that you're free to move your body. You're free to use your voice. You're free to be weird. You're free to be right and wrong and all of the wacky wonderfulness in between. So my hope is that is that it is a journey for each person. And I imagine that it will be different for everyone. And I hope that it is. So I guess like going into it for each person, just, you know, if you feel called to it, follow that. And if you don't, that's good.
I love that. I think that very much echoes
the
idea behind getting to know yourself too. It's like, that's not something we can force, right? You can't even force yourself. Like, it's when your internal self is really ready to say, okay, let's get to know each other. So I really love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. I love it. I absolutely love it. I can't wait. Not gonna lie, I already pre-ordered like 4 books. I already have plans to give them away to people. I'm locked and loaded.
I know. I feel like this is one of those books where it's like, you know how, like, I know I have particular books that like that I've really loved or enjoyed, and like, so I'll send them to my friends or say, like, you know, gift them. I feel like this is going to be one of those books, and I'm pretty good at those feelings.
So yeah, so I'm super excited.
Me too.
You know, we all agreed that we would kind of keep this one a little bit shorter. So for anybody that would like to pre-order a copy of Teagan's book, you can currently pre-order it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, right?
Yes, sir.
Both of those links should be in the description for this video. If not, we'll post them again anyway. Anybody that's in our Discord knows that I usually am in there just pinging everybody all day, every day. So
it's my favorite way to start the day.
We finally got Teagan's channel set up in the Discord. It was long overdue. I realized that I missed like 3 or 4 people that I was supposed to do that with, and then just did them all in one day. So Teagan's channel is there. It has a link to her socials. So anything that Teagan posts, it's going to post. So definitely make sure you join our Discord.
We're fun there.
It is fun there. I agree. I'm not even a huge Discord person, but I joined just for our I don't even still know how to pronounce the name. Oneironautics. 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 And it's very, very fun there.
Yes.
It's a good time.
It's definitely a good time. And we were chatting about this. So something fun that we wanted to do to support Teagan was kind of sponsor a little giveaway. And so Teagan has agreed to send out 2 different versions of a signed copy of her book. And I'm just going to say, I don't know how many other copies will be signed, so I think you're definitely going to want this.
Yeah, get on it now. This is like investing in Bitcoin.
Exactly. This is going to be worth millions.
Energetic millions, which is good.
So the way to enter for that is we will, let's say, until the end of the month. So until the start of what's next month? August?
July.
We're here.
Start of July. We'll do a snapshot of everybody that has left a comment on the YouTube video. And then we'll do a fun little, there's all these little fun games that you can do online now. So we can just input everybody into essentially a random number generator, but it'll be a fun little game. So whether it's like a marble race or a little horse race or something, we'll do something fun. And we will pick 2 people to receive a signed copy of Teagan's book. Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go. Feel your body. Feel your emotions. Heal the world.
Feel the motion of the ocean.
We'll do a dance party.
I'm happy to be giving away 2 copies because I know whenever I see Teagan, I'll get her to sign my own copy. So.
Yes, sir.
I'm happy to give away signed copies.
Group
too.
music festival. I'm throwing it in there again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm fiending for it right now.
I am so badly. So badly.
So yeah, so that's a super fun giveaway that we're gonna do. Thank you for Teagan for for agreeing to do that with us. We're super stoked for your book. I can't wait to get my copies.
Yeah, it's available for pre-order now, but the official launch date is June 22nd. So that's in just a few days, and so would probably be getting them within like 2 weeks, something like that.
I cannot.
Well, that's a good way to start July. So everyone, let's go.
My birthday month. It's a great way to start my birthday month.
There we go. Happy birthday month coming up soon.
Cool. Thank you, Teagan, for doing this. I'm so happy again. Like I get complimented all the time on the first podcast that we did together. People loved that conversation, and who knows, maybe in a couple months we'll do a post book release follow-up or something fun.
If there's any wild crazy life event that's coming up, I'll let you know. Or for either of you, I'm happy to come in and just be an interesting fly on the wall.
Teagan, you're a star here. We need you to come back whenever, and I mean that for my selfish reasons. I really do just love our conversations. Like,
me too.
You guys are both such wonderful humans, and it makes me so happy.
Yeah, thanks to both of you. Thanks for being awesome. Thanks for asking good questions. Thanks for supporting me and being excited about my book. It was really, really sweet.
In kind of circling back to things that we've said before, I would like to thank you for following yourself and honoring yourself on this journey so that we all get to reap the benefits of enjoying your book.
Yes, it's very, very true. And again, you're teaching all, I think why people loved that first podcast so much, and maybe this is just my own biased self, right, and you talked about it too throughout this one, like vulnerability is really important to you. And I very much agree with that. And just openly talking about how you feel in your journeys and whatnot, and you do it in such an open and just a way that's very much like, this is what it is. It allows other people to realize like vulnerability isn't as scary as we think it is. It truly is exploration. And I think that's why people resonate so heavily. So we very much appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Sweet. So with that, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
Things.
I realized the other day that I never say that stuff at the end of these, and so this is it. Just go do those things. Make sure you follow Teagan. Make sure you pre-order her book. It's going to be amazing. Join our Discord. We're always doing giveaways. We got lots of great new big things that we're working on behind the scenes. And thank you for everybody that came in and joined. Make sure you leave a comment on the video so you get entered into the giveaway for the 2 books. So you get one of the 2 books, just to be clear.
Just one of them.
Thank you again to both of you ladies. You're both amazing.
Love you guys.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Bye.